All right. Well, it's Friday night and it's 7 o'clock, so it must be time for a kick on healthy relationships to the curb. That's Stephanie McPhail, author, co-host. I'm Steve Vaccaro, psychologist, and we do the show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7 to 7:30 up until now. But starting next week, we'll be doing just Wednesday nights from 7 to 8 for a whole hour. So we're going to condense everything that we do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to the whole hour on Wednesdays, and that's what we actually started off to do before the pandemic hit us, right, Steph?
Yeah. We were on Mondays at I think 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and things. We said, hey, we're not going to be inside for too long. Let's give some extra support, and then here we are. It's been what feels like forever, just stuck inside.
Like so this is not your way of seeing me less each week, is that it?
No, not at all. No, it's not. It's not me. It's you. No, wait, it's the wrong way.
Wow, okay. We should do a show kind of like that. It's not me, it's you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's a trying time. It's still in New York. It's the pandemic. The crisis is still going on. The decisions that are being made by our government are good ones and the challenging ones, but we all have to learn to continue to social distance ourselves but the economy is suffering too. So there's a fine line. I just saw a stat. It's 14.7% of unemployment, which matches the Great Depression, and it could rise up to 20% by June 1st. So we're in a situation here in the tri-state area that we really have to continue to band together in the lines for people getting food. So it's no joke. We got, I'm out there each and every day with some great people delivering food for people. So it hit New York and Connecticut and New Jersey really hard. But we have a special guest, Valeen Marquez here. She's our phone a friend, and she's calling in from Pennsylvania. And Valeen, before we get started, how's the pandemic affected you in any way?
It is trying. I think the biggest thing for me is explaining to my children about what we're going through. Especially my youngest, for me, myself, I'm enjoying the family time, but, to explain to the children about what's happening and what's going on, it's, bizarre even for my 6-year-old to comprehend, you can't go anywhere these days, I think that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's difficult. Now you're up in Pennsylvania, so you're going to get ready for some snow. Are you ready for that?
No. I am not welcoming it with open arms. Not at all.
Well, we want to thank you for taking a few moments out, because the focus of our show is talking about those unhealthy relationships that a lot of us have or been having. And, Stephanie has a book that kind of connects with that. So, Stephanie, for our new viewers out there that follow Valeen, why don't you share a little bit about your book?
So the name of my book is called Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. It was a #1 new release in codependency. And I wrote it just basically sharing my story. And I can't wait to hear, Valeen, what you have shared for, with your followers. But this was a book that I just wanted to inspire other people, because I really was stuck in a cycle of unhealthy relationships. I mean, that was, the first half of my life. That's all that I knew. And 3/4 of my life. And so that's all that I knew. And then I was able to turn that around. And now I'm married to my best friend and we have 2 beautiful children together. So I want to let people know they don't have to stay trapped in those types of toxic relationships.
And Valeen, we've become friends over the last couple of months, so I appreciate our friendship up until this point. And you had a term that you coined, I think, situationship. So talk about that term and talk about what you have been going through recently.
Okay, so yes, I like to call this a situationship only because it's something that I have never witnessed actually before. It wasn't your typical run-of-the-mill relationship. I, had known a person for 8 years. The last 2 years of it, we decided to become romantic. And in the beginning, it was understood this person was leaving an unhappy situation, an unhappy relationship. They wanted to start something new. They wanted to create a whole new life, and express wanting to do that with me and my children, my home, my whole world. And little by little, when it came time to actually acting on the things that were promised or things that were spoken about, they wouldn't happen. So it was hard for me to call it a whole relationship in its own. It kind of was a situationship because it never developed into the things that it should have. I, on my end, provided the things that a normal relationship would, but when it was, time for the other person to, provide theirs, it never happened. So it was kind of like this ongoing cycle for a year of, hanging on to hope of things that might progress and them not, and for me, I think the hardest part is this was a friend. So how do you take your emotions out of the situation and still remain a friend and trying to be compassionate within that situation? And for me, I think the hardest part is that my children were involved. So on my end, my kids were part of this whole world, whereas their world was kind of spared from it all, so to speak.
Right.
So why do you think you stayed when they were showing you that they were not interested in following through with what they were telling you?
And see, that was the hardest part, is they would say something like, oh, I want to marry you. You're the person I want to be with. I want to move in with you. I just need to get A, B, C, and D done, and then we're going to do that. Mm-hmm. So I would have the hard time with being, okay, so is it my job to allow this person to go through what they need to go through in order to get to that next step? Is that what a friend is supposed to do? And so I would, I mean, I was always very good at being independent and on my own. So I was really never in a rush to get to that end result. But I also, I did ignore my own emotions many times to kind of allow them to give me excuses onto what they needed to go through, because I felt like, was it my job to be compassionate because we were friends? Mm-hmm. And it's hard because you don't want to lose that. You're like, okay, at the end, if we lose the romance and the friendship, then we get nothing out of the deal. And I think that was the hardest part for me, is to walk away empty-handed. At the end of it, I lost a friend too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, Valeen, when we were discussing a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned you felt this person was kind of exercising some narcissistic traits. What led you to believe that?
Absolutely. The kind of things like, okay, so I would be told, I want to marry you. I love you so much. And then I was ghosted for a week. No contacts, no calls, no nothing. When I would then try to put up a wall or put up barriers, then it was like, why are you being so difficult? Why are you being so hard? Why would I leave a situation when that person's not giving me a hard time, but you're making problems? Why are you bringing drama? And I was pretty much getting blamed, even though I was the one sitting there waiting, for a result that, never did end up happening,
So were they in a relationship? Was that part of the issue? They were in a relationship?
Yes. When they first came back into my life, they were explaining that they were unhappy and they were leaving. Mm-hmm. So part of every 2 weeks was did you leave? Are you done with that? And every time I would say that, they were like, why are you being so difficult? I'll leave when I'm ready to leave. Or it would be like, oh, I did leave. I'm out of it. So then I'd be like, okay, so what's the next step? What's the result? Then I'd be ghosted for another week. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It's still hard for me now, because I don't know whether to believe any of the things that I was ever told were really true. How do you know? You don't know unless you hire an investigator, I'm not the FBI.
Well, and I think what the viewers really need to really learn from this is one of the reasons why people like me, and I'm sure people like Steve, recommend a period of time in between relationships, because it sounds like he needed to really figure out who he was and what he wanted. the reason why he was stringing you along is because he didn't want to be alone. And you know what narcissist wants to be alone? They want to keep their next supply coming in and have that attention to blow up their ego. Like, ooh, this woman, she wants me, or this guy, you know, they want me. And so it makes them feel so good about themselves because now they have two different people that are fawning over them, trying to get their attention. So he was just getting his head blown up like crazy.
Which is the definition for narcissist.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, Valeen, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, absolutely. Because I even said many times, like, you need to be single and find out what it's like to be like that before you figure out what you even want. And it was a no. If I can't be with you, then I'm not leaving. So, you know, it was bizarre. It was very hard for me to kind of understand and grasp how to even handle it. I mean, till this day, it's like, how do you handle a situation like this and still remain compassionate about it and not let it ruin, you know, your emotions and not act out and not, you know, get angry? Because that's my hardest thing, is I'm trying not to be angry about the entire situation.
And I think some of the characteristics of a narcissist, an inflated sense of importance, a deep need for excessive attention, admiration, lack of empathy for others, often having troubled relationships. So what Stephanie was mentioning earlier before, he wants that attention, that admiration, not just from one person, from the second person, because he has this relationship set, and he's kind of having this other relationship where he's flipping on you because of your feelings, your frustrations and challenges, but he's not taking responsibility on his own.
And then to anyone and if you're currently in the situation yourself, people that are following this right now, a big red flag, even that you just said right now, is I'm not leaving unless it's with you. So, you know, the romantic side of us, it's like, oh, that's so, you know, it's kind of romantic. Like, I'm going to take him away from this unhappiness. And so there's a little bit of us that feels good for, you know, they know how to try to build us up because they need to know how to do that. They need to know how to make us feel good so they can get what they want. But the red flag is, no, it's not, you're not leaving because of me. You're leaving because you want to leave. And you and I are in a relationship because you want to be in a relationship. So if someone is putting all of that, because then the problem is that they get a divorce, it doesn't work out with you. Then they turn around and now it's your fault. They'll blame you.
Right.
They talked me into it. They wanted me to. I never really wanted to do it. And there's still that blame is just shifted, you know, to everyone, to the world. Oh, look, it was, you know, this person that did it. I didn't even really want it, but she forced it on me. I mean, they really know how to manipulate and you know, turn things around.
Everything you say is like spot on.
Right. This is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. Starting next week, we'll be doing this show every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight we have the pleasure of having Valeen Marquez on the show. And she's talking about this relationship that's kind of, it looks like it's one-sided here. That, you know, it's a difficult spot for you because you were friends for such a long time. And you probably trusted this person on that level. But when it flipped, your relationship flipped too, and he wanted the full control in that. And it seems like you still are compassionate to him as a friend. Is that true?
Oh my God. And it's hard. I am. And here's the thing though, is that I feel like they try to manipulate your emotions, because it'll be 3 weeks and then all of a sudden I'll get a song sent to me. Or, you know, a phrase that used to, you know, make me melt, you know, but I've asked to be left alone. So then they'll send that 3 weeks after no contact, just to kind of, I feel like, to open that door again or test the waters. And it's almost like a never ending cycle. And this person themselves even referred to it as a roller coaster. And I was like, I don't want to be on this roller coaster. I've never experienced something to this depth in my entire life, because I'm a huge communicator and I will talk about everything and anything till I'm blue in the face. And then when I would try to discuss like serious things with this person, they would hide their head, or they would just leave and walk out on me. So it was like every situation really never got to the bottom of anything. It was always left open-ended. And I think that's the like most difficult thing is that even, last week I was telling you, Steve, like I got a song sent to me and it's almost like, why? I'm still asking why.
Well, the part of what he was doing was love bombing. They want to try to make you feel good. So they send songs, they tell you how beautiful you are, how amazing you are. It's what draws us in. It's the hook. And then after that, when you're saying, hey, I don't want you to do this anymore, that's actually disrespecting your boundaries. He's actually taking what you're saying and completely walking all over them. So that's not romantic. That's actually very disrespectful, because a respectful person would say, oh, she says she doesn't want me to call anymore or text anymore. I'm going to follow what she's saying because that's what I should do as a healthy person, but he's not. So the confusing part, I think that's the hardest. And, with my first marriage, my ex was best friends with one of my really good friends. So I felt more safe because I'm like, well, if he knows one of my friends, he's got to be safe. And then, so I was like, okay, it's got to be fine. They know each other. This is a really good guy. He's got to know another really good guy. So I had that kind of comfort. And when he started to show those red flags, I was like, nah, that can't be. So they kind of let your guard down. And then because you're a nice, caring person, you're hoping to try to be supportive of this person as a friend, but you still have to make sure that no matter who they are, no matter what kind of friendship there was in the past, I don't care if they're your parents, there are certain boundaries or certain lines that can never be crossed. It sounds like those lines have been crossed, but the problem is that we allow them to continue when we stay. Like even still getting messages from him is basically giving him the green flag of, ooh, I'm still getting attention from her, even though she says no, she means yes, because you're still giving him what he wants.
Right. And I feel like I'm too old to have to block somebody. Like, I feel like at my age, you should be able to understand if you can't do right by me, then dismiss yourself. Like, I feel like I shouldn't have to go to the point to block somebody's number or block somebody on social media to get them to, just be good. And I think that's my hardest part is I feel like I shouldn't have to go to those lengths.
I have people in their 50s and 60s having to do that. I've had 70-year-olds having to do that. It's what you have to do. It's the gray rock. It's the rock. You've got to be able to give no attention. That's the only way that because now you're not a supply anymore.
And Valeen, first of all, I got to commend you for offering your thoughts like this and candidness, because it's helping a lot of people. And a lot of people won't admit that kind of this stuff out in the open like this, but you doing it is helping so many people. That's why Stephanie and I do this kind of show. But you mentioned something just now that you said he won't dismiss himself. He's not going to dismiss himself. But so that you have to realize that, and then you have to set that boundary. If you know that he's not going to dismiss yourself, maybe it might be time for you to try to look at, well, how are you going to dismiss him? And maybe that compassion is who you really are. But in this situation, it's damaging to you and maybe to your children as well.
Right, absolutely. I think that's the biggest part in seeing how it's affected them has helped me stay strong and be like, okay, so this isn't right, and I can't allow, in my situation where I'm a single parent, like I can't allow people to come in and out of my life if they're not there for good, and I've definitely learned through this situation on what I want in the future, for sure. And it's definitely not this person, but I think it's definitely maybe made me put up a lot more boundaries, for the future. And sometimes I feel bad for that because I'm like, oh God, the next guy that comes around is never going to get away with anything. I'm going to be like, a drill sergeant on them. But I mean, I don't know, maybe that's a good thing to protect your heart. I don't know.
Well, you don't want to have up such big walls that you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable anymore. I mean, then you're missing out on the potential of having any type of healthy relationship. But, when you do the right healing and you do the right work, I mean, we literally see that every day with our clients is that, we help people find their power. So it's like narc proofing your life. So when you see those signs, You know, like for me, I'm on the outside. So, and I can easily, and I'm healed, you know, I'm from a healed place. I can look at it. And like you said, I'm on point because this is what I do every day. I see it. I'm like, bam, 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 bam. You know, I know exactly what they're doing. I know how they're manipulating. I swear to you that in the years of doing this, it's like there's a textbook of the narc textbook. And they're like, this is going to be from page 24 now. You know, like they're not creative. They all do exactly the same thing. So, you know, when I work with people, that's what we need to know is like, and so when you get that gut instinct that's saying, oh, this feels awkward, but then that self-esteem is saying, are you sure? Are you sure it's wrong? Are you sure maybe that you're not making a mistake? And maybe because women were taught to be empathic. We're taught to be caring. We're taught to be understanding. And when we're too judgmental, we're actually taking care of ourselves. We feel like, oh no, this is wrong. I'm being too mean to them. I need to be more supportive when you really need to be nice and supportive to yourself and do what's right for you.
Right. Right. No, I agree so much. And, you know, I think, you know, the silver lining in all of it is that now I know what to look out for. I feel like I've learned a lot from this situation. I know I still need to work on, you know, dismissing it myself and understand that, you know, maybe this person isn't even really a good friend if they can't do right by me in any aspect. So maybe I need to stop extending myself in that manner, you know?
Right. They've shown you who they are and who they are at their core. I mean, whether it's relationships or relationships, it can be friendships, it can be relatives, it could be romantic, but there are many unhealthy relationships in friendships as well. And so this is extending, this is both. You've already seen who he is. He's shown it to you. Now you got to believe him and decide what to do with that information.
Right.
Right.
Let's take unhealthy relationships to the curb. That's Stephanie McPhail and Steve Vaccaro. And maybe, Valeen, there's a couple of things. And for others out there that are listening and watching this, you have to constantly remind yourself that you deserve better. I mean, this guy's got you in a place where, you know, he's controlling this whole situation, and emotionally you're struggling with it. And if you're struggling with it, guess what? Your children are going to struggle with it too. You might not see it, or you might do see it. And you shared earlier too, they're homeschooled. So you have to kind of really protect them from this relationship. And maybe you should strengthen your relationships. And generally speaking, to a lot of people with empathetic friends. So they you establish those healthy relationships, build a support network with friends and family who can help remind you what is reality. Do you have a family member currently that's telling you, Valeen, this is good or this is bad?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody in my corner has told me that this is bad for me.
And at first, I guess you said no way, right?
Yeah.
No way.
Yes. And I'm always, even literally before this, I was having a conversation with my mother and she said, you know, I have been telling you, you have to cut off that connection totally, block him from your phone. And I'm like, but I just feel bad. And I know I need to let go of that because I am like a bleeding heart. Anybody who's ever wronged me, I've always allowed them back in. And, you know, I know that's something I myself need to work on. I need to understand that, you know, when you got 50 red flags, I need to start saying, okay, I need to listen.
Yeah, unless you're going to have a parade down the street with the red flags, you don't need them.
Right.
But, you know, like Beth said, it's you're doubting yourself, you know, and then when you're doubting yourself, it's normally from there's a subconscious maybe belief somewhere that you're not trusting your ability to make the right decisions for yourself. So, you know, a bleeding heart that takes care of everybody and puts themselves last is someone who's going to get hurt. So when you start to say, hey, I can help people, like I help people all the time, but I put myself first. If it starts to feel uncomfortable, if I don't like how I'm feeling, then I change what's going on. I change my reaction or I change that connection with that person. You know, it's tuning into your body. Our bodies are the most amazing creatures where it tells us. I mean, and you knew. I mean, let's be realistic. You knew, but we don't trust it. There's that little gut instinct inside of us. It's like, hey, we don't like this, and we're like, shh. I don't want to hear you. I want to be open, and this is what I was taught. And so there's all these differing emotions that come up that make it so difficult to do the right thing by ourselves. And a lot of it is that self-doubt. It's that we don't trust ourselves to really make the right decisions.
Right. Absolutely.
And Valeen, do you think this other person would ever seek therapy?
No, they would never. I mean, this person still tells me they love me and want to be with me. So I don't think they even, I'm honestly just baffled because I don't think they even grasp the realms of what they're doing and the damage that they're causing. And it's almost like, I mean, this is year 2. It's been 2.5 years, and it's like they'll be gone for a week and still try to come back. So I don't think they're even aware. I don't even think they are self-aware. And if I try to even pinpoint that, I'm the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like, for me, it's a lost cause, you know? Yeah.
Well, I guess
I think that's the hardest pill to swallow, is like realizing that something that you experienced for a few years was almost like an illusion, you know? It almost as if it wasn't anything really tangible that you could hold on to. It was just a bunch of, broken promises that now resulted in, emotions that have hurt me, and I think that's the hardest part to kind of get over.
Yeah, the grief of being lied to is really hard. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues. People say, it's like, I don't know what's real anymore because I thought for sure this was the real thing. And they're so good at it. That's how they get their next victim, is they're so good at it.
Right. And you were holding on to something. You were holding on to hope, but now the hope is not there. So are you willing personally to go through this another 2-3 years of this kind of tug of war?
No. No, absolutely not. And I know that this has held me back. I mean, this situation has held me back from many different things that I've tried to pursue in my life. Just by what's gone on. And I know that if I don't totally dismiss myself from it, all it is going to do is hold me back even more. And I mean, the God's honest truth is, I do want to be in a committed relationship. And now I understand what I don't want in that, now I've learned through this what I don't want in the future. So no, I don't want this person, because how do you even know if this person is really who they are? And that's the thing, is I don't, like you said, I don't know what was real and what wasn't, because the words that were said, actions never, followed through, so I know that's definitely something that I'm going to, learn from in the future.
Well, feel free. I mean, this is actually what I do as my job. So, I mean, feel free. I run a group actually called Codependency Healing and Creating Healthy Relationships. And that's specifically what we do, is we really do like a reset button. So there's no more trying to figure it out on your own. And you come, we help you out and figure out, like, you reset, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's all these things that I didn't even realize were keeping me trapped. And for every single person, it's different. We can go back to where it started off in childhood or your first relationship or whatever it is, and we can help change those so that you don't do it again. Because a lot of the times, we can't see the label from inside the bottle. So we might do the same pattern over again, not even realize it, and then bam, there we are again in the same exact situation. And that's what I find for a lot of clients. Until they make one different decision by getting someone who's where they want to be, they get that kind of support. And then they're like, oh, okay, I can do it. And so the hard parts of trying to figure it out on your own, we take that out so that you actually get the right support to lead you in the right direction.
Right. No, I agree.
And Stephanie, isn't it empowering when you have other people with similar kind of,
oh my gosh,
and then
it's amazing.
They hear it from other people, from you, but more powerful from the other ones going through it.
Yeah, to have a tribe. I mean, in our coaching group, to have a tribe of people, I always say to clients, there's a lot of people in unhealthy relationships. It is scary to me how many people are currently in or have been in an unhealthy relationship. But what's almost scarier to me is that it's such a small percentage of people that actually do what they need to do to make changes. And I call them, they're the elite group. So when you do decide to say, hey, I'm not going to allow this to continue, I'm not going to teach this to my children, I'm going to break the cycle here. And that way, the gift I'm giving to my kids is to not have to figure this out. I'm going to do it for them because I'm going to do the work. And then those are the small, very small number of people who actually do. And it's hard. That's what they call it, work. I mean, it is. We make it as easy as we can, but the work still has to be done to get there. Because if not, you know, for me, it was, you know, I thought I figured it out. I have all these degrees, I had all these things. And then the next relationship I was in was worse than the one before.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Stephanie, do you think Valeen should kick this unhealthy relationship to the curb?
Heck yeah, for sure.
Okay, I tend to think so
I
too.
agree.
But
I concur.
what could you do differently right now, Valeen, that they haven't done before, or you tried to do before? What could be one thing that you could actually start?
I think the most important thing is probably not responding, because that is something that I do. When I get those messages, I respond. And then there it goes, lured back, you know, right back into the same roller coaster. So I think that is the number one, is just not responding. Because the God's honest truth, when I don't respond, I'm fine. You know, I'm going on with my merry life and I'm doing me. Because I mean, I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. I'm busy, you know, like we have a busy lifestyle. But you know, once that message comes through, oh, there it is again. So yes, you're right. I need to block. I need to just put on my big girl pants and just get it over with. Absolutely.
Hey, do you agree with what Stephanie said earlier, that he's walking all over you?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I know that. And I've kind of addressed that many times. Like, I am fully aware that I allow people to come back probably 120 times more than I should allow them to. And, you know, I think for me, it's because I am literally always trying to figure someone out down to a point. And if I can't, then I let them back in so I can figure something else out. And I just need to understand that, you know, it's not worth my time anymore, because it's really not.
And I know that we have to end, but Anne Marie said hashtag block his number. So that's good. We're going to have that trend for you. But, you know, I was thinking too, you know, there is the when you want to figure it out, think about how good you've been so far at fixing the people that are screwed up. Like, really, how good have you been at it? And think of how hard it is to fix yourself, to work on yourself. There's no way any of us can decide for someone else that we're going to fix them. There's no way. It's hard, so hard for us to fix ourselves. Why did any? Because I was you. I was an expert in researching all the screwed upness of the other person. But the reality is that I was never going to fix him, because number one, he didn't want to be fixed. That wasn't his issue. So, you know, it was my issue. I had to fix myself of trying to fix everybody else. And so it's hard. It's hard to admit that. You know, it's not that you're broken, it's, you know, whatever. It's just, there's stuff that all of us have to work on if we're really honest with ourselves.
Right. And we, unfortunately, do have to end. We're on a strict time limit. I think we already went over.
Yeah,
So,
that's okay.
Valeen, thank you so very much. Get ready for the snow up there, okay? And
thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for
we'll see
giving
you
us
down the road real soon. And don't forget, guys, we'll be here Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Take care of yourself. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.